So I did the sketch card stuff at OAX, and I did that for Professor Allen and Dr. Ange. And it was funny, like my original plan was, because I liked talking to him last year, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll try to get a Dr. Doom from Josh Cassara, because he did that arc in the X-Men where Doom showed up and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I bet you he'd do a good Dr. Doom. And then I was thinking of all the Next Comics folks that I thought drew cute girls or whatever, like Sowie and Ellery, right? And so I was like, oh, they draw cute girls. And I knew for sure, like, Dr. Ange didn't have any of their art, like, because he has tons of Supergirl, like, sketches and commissions and things like that. And I was like, oh, I know he's not familiar with them. So, like, for sure, if I tried to get, like, a Supergirl, then at least I knew he never, he didn't have that already. So I guess best laid plans, none of that worked out, because it basically, it was like the free thing started at, like, I think it was like from 2 to 3:30, or maybe it was like from 3 to 4:30. I forget. It was like, I think it was like 2 to 3:30, right? So it was a little longer than it was last time. And in your swag bag, they actually gave you 2 cards. So I went up to the Next Comics booth, and Ellery was there, and he had just finished a card. And then, but I guess he had a list where he was like, I can't remember who was on the list, but I guess there were like the 3 characters he could do the fastest, so he could, try to basically help, or give as many people that came like their free sketch card as possible. But I think it was like Vampirella and then 2 other people that I don't even know if I recognized their names or whatever. And I just went, how do you feel about a Supergirl? And he kind of just went, oh, I'm sorry, I'm only doing these 3. And I went, oh, okay, that, I was like, no problem. And then I think me and one of my buddies, Ian, were like, okay, well, let's see what Sowie's doing. And then somebody handed Sowie a card, and she's like, oh, these are the last of these I'm going to take for a while, because it's going to take me a while to do all these cards. And I just went, oh, okay. So they're, basically I'm like, they're busy, so I should probably try to do something else. And by the time I looked at Joshua Cassara's table, it was like, there were like tons of people lined up. And I was like, oh, well, that's a bad idea. So I walked over to Splash Page, which is a guy named Mark Hay, and he reps a bunch of guys or whatever. I thought about it, and I was trying to remember, and I think I got it right, because I don't think he has anything by this artist. And I don't know if you've ever read anything by him or not, but do you know a guy named Moritat?
I don't think so.
The thing I know him most from that I read and liked was he did a run of All-Star Western, like when it was the New 52 Jonah Hex thing.
Oh,
do you remember?
Okay.
Do you remember the Jonah Hex thing where Palmiotti put him in the present day New 52?
Yeah.
And they went through all those, he like ran into Superman, and then Bruce Wayne like had to come and like, I don't know, bail him out of jail, and he ran into like Batwing and all these, dudes like Swamp Thing and Constantine and stuff like that, but like the New 52 versions. So like he did that run, and
Okay.
he did a number of other things, but he draws really cute girls. So I thought, oh, well, why don't I have him do the Supergirl? And somebody was already in line in front of me. And while I was waiting there, I saw that this other guy, Maxi Dallo, who I don't know if he's done a bunch of published stuff, but I know people that like getting commissions, like have like talked him up. Whatever they got from him, they really liked. And this dude had just finished getting the sketch card. I think it was of like Man Thing. And he's like, dude, bro, like you killed it, man. You did this in like 10 minutes. You killed it. Whoa! And the dude was like super happy about his Man Thing sketch card. And his table, they're all rep by the same guy. So his table is right over there. And so since there was like another lady in front of me with Moritat, and she was getting like a Harley Quinn sketch in her sketchbook. And I was just like, oh, well, let me pivot real quick, since he just finished this one and nobody else was there. And I said, how do you feel about a Dr. Doom? And he's like, that's fine, Dr. Doom. And so he did it again pretty quickly. And by the time he was finished in the 10 minutes, then the person that was getting the Harley Quinn had just wrapped up. And so I was like, how do you feel about a Supergirl? And he's like, that's great. Like, let's do a Supergirl. I don't know. It was weird. I guess he was getting questioned by a bunch of people at the show, like what is he currently reading? And, he was kind of, I suppose it's similar to me and current films and TV and all this stuff, where he's like, oh, I don't read any new comics. Like, I like the old comics and that kind of thing. And every time I guess somebody pointed out something to him that was, well, what are you reading or whatever? And do you read any new comics? And most people tell me they don't. And I kind of went to him. I said, well, I read new comics, but I told you all the stories about what I had been reading because I wanted to pivot. And he's like, you don't remember? And I'm like, let me just look up what I've been reading on my because I posted all on Facebook or whatever. And so I could show him a visual. But I'm like, I'm not telling him I'm reading Deadpool Team Up because he's going to laugh at that. And I'm not telling him that I couldn't get through Absolute Batman 1 and Wonder Woman 1 because that basically validates his point, right? And I'm not going to go into the Valiant thing because that's too complicated. But what I had just read was that Godzilla Monster Piece Theater by Scioli. And I was like, dude, he'll appreciate this. And so I basically showed him this is what I just read. I read Monster Piece Theater, Godzilla, and he looked at it and he was just kind of like, that seems pretty interesting, and so I went, yes, all right. So, at least I got some brownie points for showing him something that he thought might have been interesting that was like brand new. Because I guess it's like everything else, right? You just got to keep looking until you find something that works for you. Anyway, he drew that Supergirl, which was cute. And I was sure that Dr. Ange didn't have that. So like when I got back from the show, I mailed those out to Professor Allen and Dr. Ange. And by then, I think, I don't know, maybe a half an hour or maybe 45 minutes had gone by of the hour and a half thing, and I had accomplished what I wanted to, whereas I guess, other people might have still been in line or had their heart set on something or whatever. But like, to me, I'm like, to me, it was like, oh, this is a free, sketch thing. And I wasn't really doing it for myself. I was like, this is for my friend who has a Supergirl blog. Like, he's going to like this, like that kind of thing. The only thing I wish I would have done was, since they were really nice with me, I wish maybe I would have stopped and been like, oh, let me look through their portfolios and maybe get something from them right then and there as like a thank you. I didn't think about that at the time. And I had also already spent a bunch of money by that point. So, but I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll, I was kind of looking at Splash Page going, oh, maybe I'll get something from that Jonah Hex run or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, and do that. But that was a nice turn of events. Like, I didn't really plan that. It just sort of happened, right?